3 days after burying my son, my daughter-in-law said I was dead to her too. My name is Tom Anderson, and I'm 74 years old. Amanda thought she knew exactly who I was, an embarrassing old man who'd peaked as a factory worker. She had no idea she was about to lose everything she'd worked for, and it would be because of me. What she didn't know about my past would destroy her future. She called me worthless in front of 50 relatives at Kevin's funeral reception, said I never built anything, never contributed anything meaningful to society. I didn't argue, I didn't raise my voice. I just pulled out my phone and made one call. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Here's what really happened when someone finally pushed the wrong person too far, and why sometimes the quietest person in the room holds all the power. For 3 years, Amanda Brown had been chipping away at my dignity. Small cuts. Death by 1,000 paper cuts, my late wife Martha would have called it. It started right after she married my son Kevin in 2022. I remember the first family dinner at their house. Kevin had invited me over for Martha's famous pot roast recipe. Amanda corrected my grammar 3 times during the meal. "It's Kevin and I, not me and Kevin," she said, smiling that cold smile. "I have a master's degree in communications." Kevin just looked uncomfortable. He'd inherited his mother's kindness, not her backbone. The pattern escalated. When Kevin got sick last year, cancer stage 3, Amanda excluded me from every medical decision. $87,000 in treatment costs, and I wasn't allowed to know what was happening to my own son. "This is between immediate family," she told me outside the oncology office. "Kevin needs to focus on people who can actually help." I could have helped. I could have paid for everything. But she didn't know that. Amanda saw an old man in an $8 Goodwill blazer who took the bus everywhere. She saw someone who lived in a $412 a month studio apartment on Elm Street. She saw exactly what I wanted her to see. At Kevin's bedside those final weeks, she made the rules clear. Visiting hours were 10 to 11 a.m., Tuesdays and Thursdays. "We can't have too much disruption," she said. "I'm managing his care." Managing, like Kevin was a project. The funeral was December 18th, Riverside Community Center, $850 for the rental. I paid, though Amanda never asked where the money came from. During the service, she sat in the front row with 5-year-old Tyler, my grandson. I sat 3 rows back. That should have been my first clue about what was coming. The reception afterward, that's where she finally showed her true colors. 50 relatives, Kevin's work friends, neighbors, people eating potato salad and trying to remember the good times. Amanda stood up by the coffee table, tapped her fork against her wine glass like she was making a wedding toast. "I want to thank everyone for coming today," she began. Her voice carried across the room. Kevin would have been touched by this turnout. Then she looked directly at me. "But now that the funeral's over, I think it's time we addressed something. Some people here seem to think they're entitled to stay in our lives just because they share DNA with Kevin." The room went quiet. Even the 5-year-old stopped running around. "Tom Anderson," she said, pointing at me like I was on trial. "You've spent your whole life as a factory worker. You never built anything. You never contributed anything meaningful to society. Kevin felt sorry for you, but I won't." "My neighbor, Mrs." Peterson gasped. Kevin's college roommate Dave stepped forward like he might say something, then stopped. Amanda kept going. "I don't want Tyler growing up thinking that's acceptable. That a man can coast through life and still deserve respect. Kevin would want his son to have better role models." She walked over to where I was sitting, stood right in front of me. "The funeral's over, Tom. So are you. Get out and don't come back." 50 people stared at me, waiting to see what the pathetic old man would do. I folded my paper napkin, placed it on the table, stood up slowly. My knees aren't what they used to be, and I pulled out my phone. One call, 30 seconds. "Jennifer, it's Tom. We need to talk about Amanda Brown." "Yes, she's the one. Schedule the board meeting for January 8th. It's time." Amanda frowned, probably wondering who Jennifer was and why I sounded so calm. I walked to the door, turned around one last time. "You're right about one thing, Amanda. Kevin would want Tyler to have better role models." Then I left. 3 days later, sitting in my studio apartment, I realized what I was really fighting for. It wasn't just about the disrespect. It was about Tyler, my 5-year-old grandson who barely knew me because Amanda controlled every interaction. It was about Kevin's memory being rewritten by someone who never understood his values. Most of all, it was about a promise I'd made to Martha. Martha died 10 years ago this March. Lung cancer, same as what would eventually take Kevin. In her final weeks, she made me promise something. "Don't let them erase us," she whispered from that hospital bed. "Our family, our story. Promise me you won't let anyone rewrite who we were." Martha knew I was already pulling back from the business world, stepping into the shadows. She was worried that I'd disappear completely, and our legacy would disappear with me. "Promise me, Tom." I promised. Now Amanda was trying to do exactly what Martha feared. She was rewriting history, making Kevin into someone who was embarrassed by his father, making me into someone Kevin tolerated out of pity. That wasn't true. Kevin was proud of me, not because of the money. He didn't know about that either. He was proud because I'd taught him to work with his hands, to fix things instead of throwing them away, to treat people with respect regardless of their job title. Kevin fixed his own car until the day he died, changed his own oil, built Tyler a treehouse in the backyard with wood from the hardware store, not some expensive contractor. "Dad taught me that knowing how to build something is more important than knowing how to buy something," Kevin told Amanda once. I heard him through the kitchen window. Amanda's response? "That's very quaint." Now she was cutting me out of Tyler's life completely. No more Saturday mornings teaching him to use basic tools. No more stories about his father's childhood. No more connection to half of his family history. If I stayed silent, Tyler would grow up thinking his grandfather was a failure. He'd grow up believing that Amanda's version of success, the degrees, the salary, the status symbols, was the only kind that mattered. He'd never know about the other kind of success, the kind that builds something from nothing and doesn't need applause. But there was more at stake than family legacy. There was Amanda's pattern of behavior, the way she treated service workers at restaurants, the way she talked about Kevin's childhood friends, those people from his old neighborhood, the way she'd already started talking to Tyler about our kind of people versus everyone else. Tyler was 5, old enough to absorb those lessons, old enough to start believing that some people matter more than others based on their education or income. If I let Amanda win, Tyler would grow up to be just like her, and that would be the real tragedy. Kevin didn't die so his son could become entitled. He died believing that Tyler would carry forward the values we'd taught him: respect, humility, the dignity of honest work. But those values can't survive if no one's there to defend them. That's what I was really fighting for. Not revenge, not even justice for myself. I was fighting for the man Tyler could become if someone showed him there was another way to live. Amanda didn't waste time. 4 days after the funeral reception, she showed up at my apartment with legal papers. I answered the door in my old flannel shirt and work pants. She stood there in a $3,000 charcoal suit, holding a manila folder like it was a weapon. "We need to talk," she said, pushing past me into the tiny living room. She looked around at my furniture, second-hand couch, 15-year-old television, Martha's old photos on the walls. Her nose wrinkled like she smelled something unpleasant. "This is about Kevin's life insurance," she said, opening the folder. $23,000. As his spouse, I'm the primary beneficiary, but he named you as contingent. I nodded. I knew about the policy. I'd helped Kevin buy it years ago. "Here's what's going to happen," Amanda continued. "You're going to sign this document refusing your claim. Kevin's money should go to his real family, to Tyler's education fund." She slid the papers across my kitchen table. The language was dense, legal, but I understood it perfectly. Too perfectly. "Where did you get this drafted?" I asked. "My attorney. Someone who understands how these things work." "Interesting. Most contingent beneficiaries don't have claims to refuse. The primary beneficiary gets everything automatically unless they're deceased or disclaim." Amanda's pen stopped moving. "What? This document doesn't make legal sense unless your attorney thinks I might have grounds to challenge your claim. That's ridiculous. I'm his wife." "Were you named in his original policy, or added later?" Her face flushed. "That's none of your business." "Actually, it is. If Kevin added you after marriage without removing me as primary, there could be complications, especially if he was financially incapacitated during any policy changes." The room went silent. Amanda stared at me like I'd started speaking a foreign language. "How do you know about beneficiary law?" she asked slowly. I read. Factory workers don't read insurance law. Some do. She sat back in the chair, reassessing. For the first time since I'd known her, Amanda looked uncertain. "Sign the papers, Tom." "No. Excuse me?
I said no, I'm not signing anything until I review the original policy documents and any amendments. You can email me copies for review. Email you? You don't even have a computer. I pulled out my phone. Not the old flip phone she expected. A newer smartphone. tom.anderson.1950@gmail.com, I said. Send them there.
Amanda's hands were shaking slightly as she packed up the papers. "You're making a mistake," she said. "Kevin wouldn't want you fighting his family. Kevin wouldn't want his family fighting at all." She headed for the door, then stopped. "What's your game here, Tom? You think you can squeeze more money out of this? $23,000 is more than you've probably seen in your entire life." I stood up slowly, looked her directly in the eye. "You have no idea what I've seen." After she left, I sat at my kitchen table thinking about that interaction, about the fear that had crept into her voice when I demonstrated knowledge she didn't expect. Amanda's whole power structure depended on keeping me in a box labeled ignorant old man. The moment I stepped outside that box, even slightly, her confidence cracked. She'd be back, probably with reinforcements. But now she'd be asking questions about me that she should have asked 3 years ago.
Questions like, why does a retired factory worker know insurance law? Why does he have a Gmail account and a smartphone? Why did he seem so calm when she threatened him? And most importantly, what else doesn't she know about Tom Anderson? I picked up my phone and called Jennifer Davis. How did she take it? Jennifer asked. About as well as expected. She's starting to ask questions. Good. Let her wonder. The annual promotion ceremony is January 8th. Think you can keep her guessing until then? I smiled. I've been keeping people guessing for 45 years. 1 more month won't hurt. Over the next 2 weeks, small cracks appeared in Amanda's certainty. It started with Tyler's school, Cedar Hills Academy, $18,600 per year, where Amanda sent Tyler to network with the right families. I'd been picking Tyler up on Wednesdays since Kevin got sick. One of the few times Amanda couldn't control our interaction, school pickup was chaotic and she was usually stuck in meetings. December 22nd, I was waiting in the pickup line when Mrs. Harrison, the vice principal, walked over to my window. "Mr. Anderson, could I speak with you for a moment?" I parked and followed her into the office. Tyler was in aftercare, so we had time to talk. "I wanted to personally thank you for the new computer lab," she said. "The children are absolutely thriving with the new equipment." I nodded politely, said nothing. The anonymous donation was incredibly generous. $50,000 will make such a difference in their technology education. Behind us, Amanda's voice cut through the conversation. "I'm here for Tyler Brown pickup," she announced to the receptionist. Mrs. Harrison turned toward the sound, then back to me. "Should I mention to Mrs. Brown that Tyler's grandfather was here?" "No need," I said quietly. I wouldn't want to take credit for something anonymous. But Amanda had heard her own son's name. She was walking over. "Mr. Anderson," Mrs. Harrison continued, not noticing Amanda approaching, "if you ever want to tour the new lab, just let me know. I think you'd be proud of what your contribution accomplished." Amanda stopped 3 feet away, close enough to hear every word. "Contribution?" Amanda asked. "What contribution?" Mrs. Harrison looked confused. "The computer lab donation. $50,000 for new equipment." "From who?" Mrs. Harrison glanced at me. I gave the slightest shake of my head. "Oh," Mrs. Harrison said carefully. "I'm sorry. I thought there must be some confusion. Anonymous means anonymous, of course." Amanda stared at me. "Tom, what is she talking about?" "I have no idea," I said truthfully. "I just came to pick up Tyler." But as we walked to the parking lot, I could feel Amanda's eyes boring into my back. At the car, Tyler ran to hug me. "Grandpa, Mom said you might not come anymore." "Why would she say that?" Tyler shrugged. "She said you weren't real family." I knelt down to Tyler's level. "Tyler, what makes someone real family?" "I don't know. Love? That's right. Love. Not money. Not fancy clothes. Love." Amanda was close enough to hear. When I stood up, she was holding an expensive business card. It must have fallen from my wallet when I'd pulled out my keys. She read it slowly. "Titan Manufacturing. Industrial Solutions." "Where did you get this?" she asked. "Found it in a parking lot. Probably should throw it away." "You found a business card for a major manufacturing company?" People drop things. But Amanda wasn't stupid. Her mind was working, connecting dots that didn't quite fit. Why was a retired factory worker at an expensive private school every Wednesday? Why did the vice principal seem to know him personally? Why did he carry business cards for companies that manufactured industrial equipment? And why was he so calm about all of it? "Tom," she said slowly, "what did you do before you retired?" "I worked." "Where?" "Different places." "What kind of different places?" Tyler was tugging on my hand, eager to leave. I looked down at him, then back at Amanda. "The kind where you learn to fix things instead of just buying new ones." I walked Tyler to Amanda's BMW, buckled him into his car seat. "See you next week, buddy." As they drove away, I could see Amanda in the rearview mirror, still holding that business card, still trying to figure out how it had ended up in an old factory worker's wallet. She'd be doing research tonight, making phone calls, asking questions. Good. Let her wonder. The longer she spent trying to figure out who I really was, the less time she'd have to prepare for what was coming. January 5th. 3 days before Amanda's promotion ceremony at Titan Manufacturing, Tyler's winter program at Cedar Hills Academy, Dreams and Goals, where each child presented what they wanted to be when they grew up. Amanda had insisted I not attend. "These events are for immediate family only," she'd texted me, but Tyler had called my apartment directly. "Grandpa, can you come see my presentation? I wrote it about you." How could I say no? The school auditorium was packed, 200 parents in business suits taking photos with expensive cameras. I sat in the back row wearing my navy blazer and a clean white shirt, trying to blend in. Tyler was seventh to present. He walked to the microphone in his little navy blazer. Amanda had insisted on matching the successful families. "My name is Tyler Brown," he said into the microphone. "When I grow up, I want to build things like my grandpa." Amanda shifted uncomfortably in the front row. "My grandpa taught me that fixing things is better than throwing them away. He can fix cars and computers and even broken toys. He says the best builders are the ones who start with nothing and make something that lasts." Other parents were smiling, charmed by the presentation, but Amanda's face was stone. Tyler continued, "My grandpa says that respect isn't about how much money you have. It's about how you treat people and what you build for others." When Tyler finished, the audience applauded. He beamed, scanning the crowd until he found me in the back row. He waved. That's when Amanda turned around. Her eyes locked onto mine across the auditorium. Pure fury. After the presentations, parents mingled in the lobby. I stayed near the exit, hoping to slip out quietly, but Amanda found me. "How dare you?" she hissed, grabbing my arm. "I specifically told you not to come." Other parents were starting to notice the commotion. "Tyler called me," I said quietly. "I came for him. You're poisoning him against everything Kevin worked for, against success, against ambition. I'm teaching him values." "Your values?" Amanda's voice was rising. Other conversations were stopping. "What values could you possibly teach him? You spent 40 years on a factory floor. You live in a studio apartment. You take the bus." More parents were gathering now. The Hendersons, whose daughter was in Tyler's class. The Williamses, who lived in Amanda's neighborhood, people she wanted to impress. "This is why I don't let Tyler visit you anymore," Amanda continued, her voice carrying across the lobby. "I won't have him embarrassed by a grandfather who never amounted to anything." Mrs. Henderson looked uncomfortable. Mr. Williams checked his phone, pretending not to hear. But then something interesting happened. Dr. Patricia Davis, another parent, stepped forward. She was CEO of something medical. I'd heard Amanda mention her before as someone worth knowing. "Excuse me," Dr. Davis said to Amanda. "Are you talking about Tom Anderson?" Amanda blinked. "You know him?" "By reputation. Tom Anderson is something of a legend in Detroit manufacturing circles." The lobby went completely quiet. "I'm sorry," Amanda said slowly. "There must be some mistake. This is Tom Anderson, retired factory worker." Dr. Davis looked at me with new interest. "Are you the Tom Anderson who founded Titan Manufacturing?" Every parent in that lobby turned to stare at me. Amanda's face went white. "Founded what?" "Titan Manufacturing," Dr. Davis repeated. "One of Detroit's most successful industrial companies. Started in 1979, went public in 1995. Worth about $126 million now." Amanda was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. "Tom," Dr. Davis continued, "I had no idea you lived in this district. My company uses Titan components in our surgical equipment. Your quality standards are legendary." Other parents were murmuring now. Amanda could hear fragments. "Founder of Titan. 100 million? Never would have guessed." "There's some mistake," Amanda said desperately. He's a factory worker.
He lives in a studio apartment. Dr. Davis smiled. Some of the most successful people I know live very simply. It's often a sign of wisdom, not poverty. She turned back to me. Tom, I'd love to introduce you to my husband. He's always wanted to meet the man behind Titan's success story. I nodded politely. Perhaps another time. I should be going. As I walked toward the exit, I could hear Amanda behind me, frantically asking questions. Are you sure? Tom Anderson? The same Tom Anderson? How many Tom Andersons could there be in Detroit manufacturing? But that's impossible. He takes the bus. Warren Buffett drives a 12-year-old car.
I pushed through the lobby doors into the cold January air. Behind me, Amanda's world was collapsing in real time. By tomorrow, half the parents at Cedar Hills Academy would know that Tyler's grandfather was Tom Anderson of Titan Manufacturing. By the day after that, Amanda would be walking into her promotion ceremony, not knowing that her fate was in the hands of the man she'd spent 3 years humiliating, the man she'd called worthless in front of 50 people, the man whose grandson still loved him despite everything she'd done to poison that relationship. As I waited for the bus, yes, I really do take the bus. Even billionaires can be environmentally conscious. I thought about Tyler's presentation. The best builders are the ones who start with nothing and make something that lasts. Out of the mouths of babes. January 8th, 2025, 10:30 a.m., Titan Manufacturing Headquarters, downtown Detroit. Amanda walked into our main conference room for what she thought was her promotion ceremony. She wore her most expensive suit, $4,000 Armani, purchased specifically for this day. Her future as Vice President of Strategic Development was about to be announced. She had no idea she was walking into my world. The boardroom was exactly as I designed it back in 1995. 48-foot mahogany table, seating for 24. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Detroit River. The company logo etched into the glass wall, my signature still embedded in the design. Amanda took her seat at position 12, where the guest of honor traditionally sat. She was radiant, confident. This was her moment. Around the table, Jennifer Davis, our CEO, Michael Wilson, corporate counsel, Susan Miller, HR director, Charles Taylor, my oldest friend and co-founder, board members from across the Midwest representing hundreds of millions in combined assets. Amanda knew them all by title. She'd networked at every company event for 3 years, but she didn't know the deeper relationships. She didn't know the history. She didn't know that every person in that room owed their position to decisions I'd made. Jennifer called the meeting to order. Good morning, everyone. Before we proceed with today's agenda, I'd like to introduce a special guest. Amanda smiled expectantly. Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer continued, I'm honored to present Tom Anderson, founder and majority shareholder of Titan Manufacturing. The boardroom door opened. I walked in wearing my best suit, still not expensive, but clean and pressed. I'd even gotten a haircut for the occasion. Amanda's face went through 5 distinct emotions in 3 seconds. Confusion, recognition, disbelief, horror, panic. Good morning, I said to the room. Then, making eye contact with Amanda. Hello, Amanda. She couldn't speak, literally couldn't form words. Jennifer gestured to the head of the table, my seat, the founder's chair that I'd used for 16 years before stepping back. Tom, thank you for joining us. As you know, we're here to discuss the Vice President of Strategic Development position. I sat down slowly. The room was watching Amanda, whose face had drained of all color. Before we proceed, I said calmly, I'd like to address some concerns about the candidate. Michael Wilson opened his legal folder. The board has received documentation regarding Amanda Brown's professional conduct. Susan Miller, HR, consulted her tablet. We have witness statements from the December 18th incident. Amanda found her voice. What incident? Your public statement that Mr. Anderson never built anything and never contributed anything meaningful to society, Susan read from her notes, made in front of 50 witnesses at a funeral reception. I didn't know. Didn't know what? I asked gently. I didn't know you were... Were what, Amanda? The room waited. Board members who'd known me for decades watched Amanda struggle with the reality that was collapsing around her. I didn't know you owned the company, she whispered. Charles Taylor, my co-founder, spoke up. Tom doesn't just own it. He built it. From nothing. Started with a $2,000 loan and a dream to manufacture better industrial components. Jennifer added, When Tom stepped back from daily operations in 2009, he retained 52% ownership. Every major decision still requires his approval. Amanda was staring at the table now, unable to meet anyone's eyes. "The promotion you're here to receive," I said quietly, "requires unanimous board approval, including mine." Silence filled the room. You could hear the heating system cycling, traffic noise from the street below, Amanda's rapid breathing. "However," I continued, "before we vote, I think everyone should hear the full scope of your statements about my character." Michael Wilson read from his notes. December 18th, 2024. Quote, "Tom Anderson spent his whole life as a factory worker. He never built anything. He never contributed anything meaningful to society." More silence. January 5th, 2025, at Cedar Hills Academy. Quote, "I won't have Tyler embarrassed by a grandfather who never amounted to anything." Amanda started crying. Not graceful tears, ugly, desperate sobs. "The board should also know," Susan Miller added, "that Mrs. Brown has been systematically excluding Mr. Anderson from family decisions regarding his own son's medical care and his grandson's upbringing." Jennifer looked around the table. "All in favor of Amanda Brown's promotion to vice president?" No hands rose. "All opposed?" Every hand in the room went up, including mine. "Motion denied unanimously." Amanda stood shakily. "I can explain. I didn't understand. If I had known—" "Known what?" I asked. "That I deserved basic human respect? That my relationship with my grandson mattered? That Kevin loved me? I made a mistake." "No, Amanda. You made a choice. Multiple choices. Over 3 years." Charles Taylor stood up. "Tom, I think we should also address the family situation." I nodded. "Amanda, effective immediately. You're no longer employed by Titan Manufacturing. Michael will handle your severance package. 2 weeks. Standard termination." "You can't fire me for something that happened outside work." Michael Wilson smiled grimly. "Actually, we can. Your conduct reflects poorly on company values. More importantly, your employment contract includes a character clause. Publicly humiliating the company founder violates that clause." "What about Tyler?" Amanda asked desperately. "You can't punish your grandson for my mistakes." "Tyler isn't being punished. You are." "I'll be filing for grandparent visitation rights. Given your demonstrated pattern of excluding family members, I expect the court will be sympathetic." Security appeared at the boardroom door, professional, discreet, but unmistakably present. "Your personal items will be boxed and delivered," Susan Miller said. "Your company car keys, laptop, and access cards need to be surrendered to security." Amanda looked around the room one last time, searching for sympathy, for allies, for anyone who might speak up for her. She found none. "Tom," she said as security escorted her to the door, "I'm sorry. I really didn't know." I stood up, looked her directly in the eye. "That's exactly the problem, Amanda. You never bothered to find out." The boardroom door closed behind her. Jennifer broke the silence. "Well, that was unpleasant but necessary." Charles laughed. "Tom, you haven't lost your touch for dramatic timing." "I prefer justice to drama," I said, "but sometimes they overlap." Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I watched Amanda walk across the parking lot to her BMW. She moved slowly, like someone in shock. 45 years of building this company. 26,000 employees worldwide. 126 million in annual revenue. And Amanda thought I'd never built anything. The consequences rolled out faster than Amanda could control them. By noon that same day, news of her termination had spread throughout Detroit's manufacturing network. It's a smaller industry than people realize. Everyone knows everyone. By 2 p.m., her phone was ringing with calls from headhunters and competing companies, but not the calls she wanted. "Amanda, this is Derek Walsh from Industrial Solutions Group. I'm calling to withdraw our job offer. We've heard about the situation at Titan Manufacturing." "What situation?" "The incident with Tom Anderson. Amanda, Tom is legendary in this industry. Whatever happened between you two, it's already common knowledge." "There's been a misunderstanding." "I'm sure. But our company can't risk the association. Tom's reputation for integrity is impeccable. If there was a conflict serious enough for him to terminate someone publicly—" Click. That was the first of 7 similar calls. By Thursday, Amanda discovered what real power looks like in a specialized industry. Detroit manufacturing is built on relationships spanning decades, trust networks that take generations to establish. And I'd been building those networks since 1979. Amanda's new reality became clear at her emergency meeting with her employment attorney, David Patterson. "Amanda, I've looked at your case from every angle," Patterson said across his desk. "Legally,
Titan Manufacturing has ironclad grounds for termination. Based on what? Personal disputes? Based on the character clause in your employment contract. Look at paragraph 7.
Amanda read the language she'd signed 3 years earlier. Employee agrees to conduct themselves in a manner that reflects positively on company values and leadership. Publicly humiliating the company founder qualifies as a breach, Patterson continued, especially when there are 50 witnesses to your statements. What about wrongful termination? Discrimination? Against whom? You discriminated against Tom based on his age and perceived social status. There's no protection for attacking senior citizens at their son's funeral. Amanda slumped in her chair. What are my options? Honestly, accept the severance package and hope Tom doesn't pursue further legal action? Further legal action? Grandparent rights. Given your pattern of excluding him from family decisions, a court might view that favorably, especially now that your financial stability is compromised. Amanda left Patterson's office understanding that she'd lost more than just a job. She'd lost credibility in her chosen industry, but the most devastating consequence came Friday morning, Tyler's custody evaluation. Amanda sat across from Dr. Rachel Moore, court-appointed family psychologist, in a sterile office overlooking downtown Detroit. Mrs. Brown, I've reviewed the documentation regarding Tyler's grandfather. Can you explain your reasoning for limiting their relationship? He doesn't have the resources to provide Tyler with appropriate guidance. Appropriate how? Educational, financial, social connections. Dr. Moore consulted her notes. According to my research, Mr. Anderson is the founder of a $126 million company. He's donated over $50,000 to Tyler's school. Educational resources don't seem to be a concern. Amanda shifted uncomfortably. I didn't know about his business background. For 3 years? He lives very simply. You assumed that simple living equals poverty? Not poverty, just limited opportunities for Tyler. Dr. Moore leaned forward. Mrs. Brown, help me understand. What specific harm were you protecting Tyler from? Amanda couldn't answer, because the truth was uncomfortable. She'd been protecting Tyler from learning values that conflicted with her social ambitions. Tyler told me his grandfather taught him that fixing things is better than throwing them away, Dr. Moore continued. That respect comes from character, not money. Are these harmful lessons? No, but what? Tyler needs to understand success, real success, achievement. Like building a multi-million-dollar company from nothing? Silence. Dr. Moore closed her folder. I'm recommending expanded visitation rights for Mr. Anderson. 2 weekends per month, alternating holidays and summer vacation time. That's not fair. Mrs. Brown, you systematically excluded a loving grandfather from his grandson's life based on incorrect assumptions about his social status. The court's job is to protect Tyler's interests, not your social anxiety. Amanda walked out of that appointment understanding that her control over Tyler's upbringing was ending. That evening, she sat in her BMW outside my studio apartment building, trying to reconcile the man she'd dismissed with the man who'd just dismantled her entire life with 3 phone calls and a board meeting. She never came to the door, never knocked. Because what was there to say? I'm sorry I judged you by your clothes instead of your character. I'm sorry I thought money was more important than values. I'm sorry I tried to erase you from your grandson's life. All true, all inadequate. Some mistakes can't be apologized away. Some bridges, once burned, don't get rebuilt. 6 months later, the full scope of Amanda's miscalculation became clear. Her new job paid $45,000 annually, exactly half her Titan Manufacturing salary. Second-tier industrial, a small firm in Grand Rapids, was the only company willing to hire her after the Detroit manufacturing community learned what had happened. Reference checks were challenging, her new boss admitted during orientation. But everyone deserves a second chance. Amanda's second chance meant managing inventory for a 12-person operation. No strategic development, no executive meetings, no company car. She drove to Grand Rapids every day in her BMW, the last remnant of her previous life, and one she couldn't afford to maintain much longer. The social consequences hit harder than the financial ones. Cedar Hills Academy's Winter Gala, February 14th. Amanda attended alone, hoping to maintain some semblance of her previous status among the parent community. She approached Dr. Patricia Davis, who'd recognized me at Tyler's presentation. Patricia, how lovely to see you. Dr. Davis smiled politely. Amanda, how are you adjusting? Adjusting? To the new job. I heard about Titan Manufacturing. Oh, that. Yes, it was time for a change. I'm sure.
Tom Anderson spoke very highly of you at the Christmas charity auction. Amanda's stomach dropped. Tom was at the charity auction? Of course. He's been a major donor for years. Didn't you know? He endowed the Children's Scholarship Fund, $200,000 annually for underprivileged students. Another piece of Tom's hidden life. Another reminder of how little she'd actually known about the man she'd dismissed. Patricia, Amanda said carefully, what else do you know about Tom's contributions? Where do I start? The community center renovation, the library expansion, the Veterans Housing Project. Tom's donated over $3 million to local causes in the past decade, always anonymously until recently. Amanda excused herself and spent the rest of the gala in the bathroom, crying. The legal consequences arrived in March. Tyler's custody arrangement had been modified exactly as Dr. Moore recommended. 2 weekends per month with Tom, alternating holidays, 4 weeks in summer. But Amanda discovered that court orders only regulate the minimum. They don't prevent grandfathers from being more involved when circumstances change. When Tyler caught pneumonia in March, Tom took 2 weeks off from Titan Manufacturing to help with care. When Amanda's work schedule conflicted with Tyler's spring break, Tom covered childcare. When Amanda's BMW finally broke down, $1,200 in repairs she couldn't afford, Tom helped Tyler understand why Grandpa's values about fixing things versus throwing them away actually mattered in real life. "Grandpa," Tyler asked during one of their weekend visits, "why does Mom seem so sad all the time now?" Tom was teaching Tyler to change the oil in his Honda Civic, still his daily driver despite having enough money to buy a dealership. "Sometimes people make choices that don't work out the way they hoped," Tom explained. "Your mom is learning some difficult lessons." "About what?" "About what really matters in life." Tyler considered this while wiping his hands with an old shop rag. "Do you think she'll figure it out?" "I hope so, for her sake and for yours." By April, Amanda's isolation was complete. Her former colleagues at Titan Manufacturing had moved on without her. The strategic development position had been filled by Michael Chen, an internal candidate with 15 years' experience and Tom's personal endorsement. Amanda's neighborhood social circle had also shifted. Word travels fast in affluent suburbs about job losses and custody battles. Invitations stopped coming. School pickup conversations grew awkward. Most painfully, Tyler was developing a different relationship with success and achievement. During his spring parent-teacher conference, Mrs. Harrison mentioned Tyler's evolving perspective. "Tyler talks constantly about his grandfather's workshop," she told Amanda. "He's become fascinated with how things work, how they're built. His science projects have become remarkably sophisticated." "I see." "He told the class last week that the best success is the kind where you help other people. Very mature thinking for a 6-year-old. Amanda nodded politely, but internally she was screaming. Tom was reshaping Tyler's values in real time, undoing years of careful messaging about achievement and status. The final consequence emerged in May. Amanda's lease renewal notice arrived with a 40% rent increase. Her luxury apartment complex was pricing her out, though they phrased it diplomatically. "Market conditions have shifted," the leasing manager explained. "Your income qualification no longer meets our updated requirements." Amanda spent that weekend apartment hunting in considerably less prestigious neighborhoods. Tyler would need to change schools. Again. "Mom," Tyler asked while they toured a modest 2-bedroom in a working-class neighborhood, "is this like where Grandpa lives?" "Similar, yes." "I like it. It feels more real." More real. 6-year-old Tyler was developing the ability to distinguish between authentic and artificial living, between substance and surface. Everything Amanda had tried to teach him about success, Tom was quietly redefining through example and experience. By June, Amanda understood the true scope of what she'd lost. Not just a job, not just social status, not just financial security. She'd lost the ability to shape her son's understanding of what mattered in life. Tom hadn't taken Tyler away from her. The courts ensured they maintained a strong relationship. But he'd given Tyler an alternative framework for measuring worth and success, one that made Amanda's previous priorities look shallow and temporary. Tyler was learning that building something lasting mattered more than buying something expensive, that treating people with respect mattered more than networking with influential people, that contributing to your community mattered more than advancing your career. All the lessons Amanda had dismissed as blue-collar mentality were becoming Tyler's moral foundation, and there was nothing she could do about it, because Tom wasn't trying to turn Tyler against her. He was simply showing Tyler who he really was, and letting Tyler draw his own conclusions about character, integrity, and the different ways to live a meaningful life. The quiet man Amanda had underestimated was raising Tyler to be everything she'd failed to become.
1 year later, I received an unexpected visitor.
Amanda stood at my apartment door on a Tuesday evening in December. She looked different, older but also somehow cleaner, less desperate. Her clothes were simpler, her makeup minimal. "Tom, could we talk?" I invited her in, made coffee the way Martha used to, strong, black, with real cream. "I owe you an apology," Amanda began. "A real one, not the panic-driven nonsense I said last year." I sat across from her at my small kitchen table. Waited. "I spent the last 12 months figuring out who I really am when I'm not trying to impress people," she continued. "It wasn't pretty." "And what did you discover?" "That I was terrified. Terrified of not being good enough, smart enough, successful enough. I used Tyler as a prop to prove my worth. I used Kevin's memory the same way." She took a breath. "And I tried to erase you because you represented everything I was afraid of becoming. Invisible, overlooked, ordinary."
"There's dignity in ordinary, Amanda." "I know that now. Tyler's been teaching me." I smiled. "He's a good teacher." "He told me about the workshop you're building in your new garage, about the projects you're planning together. After Titan Manufacturing's record profits in 2025, I'd finally bought a small house. Nothing fancy. 3 bedrooms. A 2-car garage perfect for teaching Tyler practical skills. He also told me you've been helping with his homework, and that you never say anything negative about me. Tyler loves you. That love shouldn't be complicated by adult conflicts." Amanda's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve that kindness. Kindness isn't about deserving. It's about choosing who you want to be." We sat in comfortable silence. Outside, Detroit was settling into winter darkness. "Tom, I came here to ask something, and I'll understand if you say no." I waited. "Could you teach me?" "Not Tyler, me." I want to learn to fix things instead of just throwing them away. I want to understand the values I tried so hard to dismiss. I studied her face. No desperation now. No manipulation. Just genuine curiosity about a different way to live. "Saturday mornings," I said finally, 10 a.m. "We'll start with basic home maintenance. If you're serious about learning, I'm serious about teaching." "Thank you. One condition. Name it." "This isn't about earning your way back into Tyler's good graces. He already loves you. This is about you discovering who you want to be going forward." Amanda nodded. "I understand." 3 months later, Amanda had learned to change her own oil, fix a leaky faucet, and rewire a broken lamp. More importantly, she'd learned to listen before speaking, to ask questions before making assumptions. She was becoming the kind of person Tyler could be proud of, not because of her achievements, but because of her character. On a warm Saturday in March, the 3 of us worked together in my garage, rebuilding an old radio Tyler had found at a garage sale. "Grandpa," Tyler said, carefully soldering a connection, "Mom's getting really good at this stuff." "Yes, she is." "Does that mean she's becoming more like you?" I looked at Amanda, who was concentrating on reading a circuit diagram. "No, Tyler. It means she's becoming more like herself, the best version of herself, the version that had been buried under years of anxiety about other people's opinions, the version that could teach Tyler that success isn't about impressing strangers. It's about building something meaningful with the people you love. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. And remember, respect isn't about where someone lives or what they drive. It's about how they treat people when they think no one important is watching. Because everyone is important. Everyone.